Okay, Sim Racing Expo 2024. I'm here with the big expert, I think, Mitchie Hoyer, who's done the whole tour before. So we're going to look at all of the stuff and just let you know what we think of it. Mitchie's obviously like crazy fast esports driver. I'm a bit more basic. So we've got two different sort of like viewpoints on things.
Yeah.
Basically competent and incompetent. So
No.
well, should we go down and have a look?
Yeah, we can have.
It's a busy year, isn't it, Mitchie?
It is insane. I think it's the biggest sim racing expo ever.
Yeah.
And personally, I think as a community, it's great to see it's growing that much.
Shall we start with Cooler Master? Maybe?
We can start with Cooler Master, yeah.
Because it's a big thing Cooler Master have got here.
Yes,
I feel like it's Cooler Master have arrived in sim. We're here in sim racing,
they are.
but it's not like they have a lot of little products you can buy. It's more like a vision or like they have the Dinex obviously, but that's an expensive thing.
Yes,
So.
I think they've just started with their journey into it. So as much as
So, by the way, is that the Pagani or the LMP2? It's going
I
on.
think it's the LMP2, the Pagani will sound like a V12 Formula 1 engine.
Okay, there's a Le Mans car revving the engine, but yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, as much as they have not got any own like hardware equipment, they started getting in with two rig, which I think is unique in its way because you can easily adjust the ride height at the back end. And then of course, in the way they have built up the rig, you can customize it with whatever you have at home, with whatever hardware you're on. So it's going to be interesting to see where they're going to slot into the market, whether they go into beginner, whether they go into advanced or even high price level.
Definitely showing that they can do high price level.
They definitely show that, and like we've spoken about that rig, it just shows like how much potential there is in quality, in development, and I think as I said, it just started. So it will be interesting to see how much they play a role in the future.
Yeah, big presence. Let's move over to D-Box and P1 Sim.
Yes.
Now, we were both at World Endurance Championship a couple of years ago in Spa.
Yes.
Obviously, we see Peugeot there with like a big presence, Stellantis.
Yes.
I don't fully know. By the way, I love the names of these rims and pedals as well. Like it's the Eau Rouge Apex.
Yes.
Naming's amazing, looks amazing. I don't know the full history behind P1, but I understand there's some connection with Peugeot Sport, and
I haven't quite understood it completely. All I know is like a French company. They're working together with D-Box, they're working together with Peugeot, as you mentioned. And personally, like, that kind of rim would be even too fancy for me. It's like too enlightening, maybe even distracting.
too many lights. It's like obviously the see-through like perspex is very much style over. You wouldn't have this in a real car, like shining, especially not at night in a thing.
It is a super shiny thing, and it looks flamboyant and it looks awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's just when I go for performance, this will be an overkill. Like this would not get me any further.
Yeah, and interesting. They got D-Box who doing all the the other side of stuff, like the rig side of things. So,
Yes.
but everything is like very Peugeot. Everyone's driving a Peugeot, and I'm not exactly sure of the connection, but.
I mean, obviously, P1 is manufacturer of pedals, rims. I'm not even sure if they're into wheelbases that I don't know.
I'm not aware of, no, but I know the pedals are meant to be.
Yeah, the pedals are from them.
Yeah.
I think that is a load cell, a standard load cell.
Yeah.
They might also have a hydraulic one somewhere, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not 100% sure what is the deal.
Yeah.
Behind it.
Very interesting experience though, driving the
moving one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the immersive racing experience, yeah.
Yeah, where the people in the seat, I feel like that'd be interesting. So if you don't know, we'll put some B-roll up. They have a simulator here, an experience where someone drives in Le Mans Ultimate, right? It was?
Yes.
And
I drove there yesterday, yeah.
And you have people who sit behind you in seats and they all move the same as you. I feel like that would be interesting to watch real motorsport like that, like
Absolutely.
Formula 1.
It was an interesting one because like I felt in the car not moving too much, but I saw these people around me being like, I think their operator told me that they've tuned it down for the driving a little bit.
And turned it up for the...
So that the drivers don't like crash every now and then.
Should we have a look at Cube, maybe? Because I don't know too much about Cube, but I know a lot of people always interested in Cube wheels.
Yes.
Interesting to see Cube next to BavarianSimTec. I think it's a much smaller company, but they both have incredible products.
I'm not even sure, like, to be entirely honest, I haven't heard about BavarianSimTec before.
So BavarianSimTec is a father-son business.
Okay.
So that's Klaus over there. He's a father, and I think he was involved in automotive in Germany, like Lexus.
Yes.
And a lot of quality control, customer
Yes.
care. And his son, I think in 2020, started designing wheels. We can go and have a look.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know your thoughts about it, because they have this thing called adaptive beam tech. And basically, when you move the encoders, they light up. They've stopped working now, but you can see there, it's the lights kind of move in it.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are, because I think, again, like distraction, too many lights, too many bright things.
It really depends. I mean, that is probably fine because you want to have an indicator where your setting is.
Yeah.
What I would probably do is I customize them like to be in all gray.
Yeah.
And the one that's setting is like really lit.
Yeah.
So that I don't get distracted by, like, I want to, with a glimpse of an eye, catch what is the position of my encoder.
Almost certainly you can do that. This is probably for an Expo, it's like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I like this one with like diff box and then like volume brightness, and then, I mean...
Thinking about it, what wheel does that remind you of? The style, the design?
I don't know, Ferrari S7 499 or...
I would have gone with Mercedes.
Okay.
Mercedes F1 wheel.
Right.
If you compare like the shape and where the buttons are sitting,
like
and where the encoders are sitting.
The SimLab one, there's a SimLab got it, yeah.
Like, it is emphasized on like the real F1 thing.
Let's have a look. Speaking of Mercedes then, that Cube, they've got a GT3, right?
Yes.
GT3 here. Mario Engel, is it?
Is it Mario Engel, yeah.
Yeah. You know, Mercedes branded. What do you know about Cube? I mean, we were at Formula E doing an event a couple of years ago, and we were using, I think, Cube Controls wheels and real nice form factor.
I'll be honest, I know not much about them.
Oh, I was hoping you knew.
Yeah, I consider them one being my replacement for my back then wheel, but I went with GSI instead.
Okay. I think a very strong brand. We can have a look here maybe at some of these products. Obviously got the licensing with Mercedes. Now this isn't lit up, but even here you can see this is going to be less distracting, right?
Yeah. It's good haptic as buttons, to be honest. Like, it's a bit to press. Like, you can hear the click. You can. What is important, like when you have headphones on, you feel the click.
Yeah. And I like them. They're not messing around with the recess. It's like, you know that your thumb's going to be in there and you're going to.
Whatever thumbs you got, like, you're going to press the button for sure. Whatever thumb size you got, you're going to press the button regardless.
That wheel there looks very interesting for the Cube. Maybe we can have a look. It's got that dish sort of style, but very clear dash and lighting and.
Very high resolution dish dash.
I mean, when I get a new wheel on my rig, the screen, I'm immediately going to like the most detailed settings. But I always just go back to basic gear number.
Yeah.
In the end, really, like, so that I could keep that on that setting. I've always got the gear number really clear.
Yeah.
And then I've got everything else. But you know, you're driving at a much higher level than me. I don't know if you're looking, would you set up a wheel with that much information on it? Or is that too much?
It is quite funny because I also have a wheel with a dash, but there's just a couple of things I put on the dash, and then anything else is on the dash. I don't look at all. But if I would go for a wheel, I would never go without a dash again, despite I'm hardly any use in it. But you look for gear indications, you look for the lap time delta, you look for expected lap time according to your lap performance, and maybe some other things that you can't display in the game. So let's say R factor 2, for instance. There was the occasion that the time delta got broken on the lap, but the time delta on the wheel was active, so I made sure whatever it is, I have it visible. And then obviously, like, it is easy to oversee a small little icon saying you're low in fuel. So whenever I'm low in fuel, my wheel flashes like you're low in fuel. And then I check whether I can do another lap or whether I have to box the lap.
I've heard a lot of manufacturers talk about shift functionality, so just have one button, that can kind of shift, and then you have a different screen, and
Yes.
you don't need to have it all the time, which is not something I've often thought about.
You can easily do that with SimHub, obviously.
Yeah.
I have set that up for my dash. So I have a tablet on the top right that's off the stream, where I have dash with some telemetry information, like
nice.
how much tire I've still left, how much fuel, and how long that would still get me. Like just some standardized information. So whatever car, whatever series, whatever sim I drive,
Yeah.
I have the information always in the same spot.
Same. Right, let's do I think we're going to do a sweep now. We've got Logitech, Simucube, Ascher.
Yeah.
Maybe we start with Logitech. Obviously, reputation, very entry-level brand.
Yes.
A lot of us start on Logitech or Thrustmaster.
I started on a Logitech G25 back then.
Nice, old school. G Pro and the Momo wheels.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? You're obviously what base are you using at the moment?
I'm on a Simucube 1,
And how much Newton meters is that?
18.
18. This is a 11, I think.
I need to admit I have no clue.
That base is 11 Newton meter base, and
Yeah.
now it has an officially licensed Momo wheel.
It is a direct drive though,
It's
right?
a direct drive, yeah. What do you think about it? Like, do you think Logitech that it's worth being in that space? Do you think they should come out with like a 5 or something more console focused, or where does 11? Where do you think that would?
It's hard to say. Like 11 is somewhere in the mid area. It's higher than 5 or 6, what the real entry is. It is lower than 18 or 20. What is the diehard? Like
Yeah.
anything above 20 is like
That's for
way
sure,
too much.
yeah.
It's an overkill. I'm not quite sure whether you really want to be with the 11 Newton meter range. Like, it might be too high for the beginners, but too low for the
It might
diehards.
clip for the diehards because you're running it for 100%.
Like, I would probably be in their position, be like with 50 Newton meters or so.
15.
15. That would give you enough of a torque, enough of a power to tune down the games, enough to still have enough force,
Yeah.
but don't get into clipping. But because what you need to know about my 18 Newton meter wheelbase, I run it 100% in every game.
Okay.
It's just that the car specific FFB multiplier, I tuned that down
Oh, in the sim.
in the sim. So when I look into Motec, and this is the range, if I had like 30% of wheelbase strength and 100% FFB mold, the FFB will be like this, it would be clipping all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But instead you put maximum power on the wheelbase and reduce
Okay.
the force that is being displayed in the car, the car specific.
Always on the per car basis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you are somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
You don't get clipping and you got a high detail at
Ironically,
FFB.
that's what they're doing in Gran Turismo on console. I think now the force feedback is much more on a per car basis.
Yeah.
Rather than before it was like trying to be across all the cars.
Yeah.
It's been very controversial.
Well, let's think about it. Like R Factor 2, in some cars, you need to put the FFB to 30%, sometimes even lower to not get clipping. Now, 30% of 11 Newton meters is like 3 Newton meters, which I think is the same torque that their G29
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
produce. Obviously, at full clipping as well. But this is the thing. Like, I would probably, if I had a decision, and I'm not making this up because Logitech is pretty surely exactly knowing what they're doing,
Yeah.
but I would have gone with like a stronger base.
Yeah. Well, let's see if they bring it out because they got the ecosystem, they got the quality rims. So
They
we'll
got
see.
quality rims, they got their own quick release. Like, as you say, they have their own ecosystem where you can have maximum customization going on,
Yeah.
whether you want to have vintage, like you see a couple of rims down there.
Yeah.
When you want to have vintage rims on the other side, you have NASCAR rims, you have, I think, even some sort of Formula rims, then you have a standard GT rim.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rims.
And they say you can 3D print your own rims and stuff. Maybe here we can see Simucube because going from like it's had enough to active pedals.
Yeah.
Now the range is Active Pedals Pro, Active Pedals Ultimate.
Yeah.
Ultimate's being 170 kgs. I don't know what you run on your load cells.
I'm at 60 right now,
Okay.
and for a 2-hour race, this is just like strong enough for maximum, like feel and for maximum confidence, but also low enough to go the distance.
Not to get fatigued and then you're...
Yeah, like it doesn't get you anything if you like have the best feeling at 80 kilograms,
Yeah.
but after like 1.5 hours you get tired, you don't hit the 100% anymore, you lose that precision that you need.
So the interesting about the Simucubes is what you could do two things. Firstly, you could, if it's a sprint race, you could actually run harder just by the push of a button in the software, or endurance have softer. Or you could also, while you're racing, which I wouldn't recommend, but you know,
No.
it's like maybe some peculiar esports thing, you could actually change it.
Yeah.
There are some discussions I've heard about whether these pedals are getting close to cheating in terms of you can do some funny things in terms of inbuilt traction control and stuff like that. I don't know if you've heard some sort of like rumors about it on the circuit or.
I mean, the thing is, like, what do you define as being cheating?
Well, this is where you draw the line because it is just hardware. But let's say, for example, the pedals, like they were doing in Formula One back in the day, like in the 90s, it can sense when it can not engage the TC in game.
Yeah.
So it can cut that transmission into the game and it could be faster.
Yeah.
The same with ABS, because the ABS at the moment, it gets the information from the game that you're engaging ABS and it relays it to the vibration. But what if it could also decrease some brake pressure?
Yeah.
And because the ABS in the game could be too harsh. So I don't know, is that cheating or not?
I think it's just like AI. Honestly, it's just like AI. AI is just coming right now. And let's face it, we don't have like a real government structure around like what is ethically and realistically fine to do with AI, and where do we need to draw a red line in order to not make AI abuse to humanity?
We need like the FIA to come up with like
exactly. And I think it is like one of those FIA organizations that need to put out a rule like what is okay, what shall be used. But at the same time, you need to be able to govern it. You need to be 100% sure at all times whatever you've put into the guideline and the rules is obeyed at all times.
Yeah.
So you need to have that proof as well. And then I think this is the problem where we draw a grey line, because someone that spends 4K on those pedals, got the software, got the technology, can use it right now, compared to someone that has like losing felt sprints from 1K.
They just can't do it.
They just can't do it. It's technically not available. Now, do you punish the guy that spent the 4K just because he had the money?
Yeah.
Is wrong as well.
But to me, it sounds a lot like junior karting with like having the best tires or like the best Rotax engine and like.
To an extent, yes, but then of course, it is a sporting advantage.
We don't like that in sim racing, right?
We don't like that, yeah.
So, just another point here. This is in VR on the Pimax Crystal Light. Don't know what your thoughts are on VR in sim racing. Do you think it's? Do you think it's faster?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I would say it makes it slower.
Okay.
I haven't tested it in a while, but generally speaking, when you move your head just 10 centimeters to the left or to the right, you have a different way of seeing things. Like obviously, he goes into a right turn right now here in Spa. The moment he turns in, he could move his head forwards, then see around the A-pillar to see the apex.
Yeah.
However, if he doesn't do it, he might screw up the braking point the next lap in, because like he just focused.
Because different every time.
Different every time. It is different every time. And in esport, everything is about muscle memory. Everything is about patterns. Everything is about consistency and doing the same ever so fine technique every single time. And I think using VR just adds a variable that is so hard to control to have it 100% the same every time.
What about motion? Is it similar?
It's the same. If you take a bump a little different, like different angle, the motion might do a little bit different things on the actuators, and even more so.
So is that a slight difference between ultimate esports performance as like a pursuit versus immersion and like the fear, the sensation?
Look at all the esports settings you find in, I don't know, F1.
Graphics low.
Graphics low, no shadows, no rain dots on the windscreen.
Yeah.
You can speak about that being cheating too, but again, it is possible. You can set it up in the game.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'd like to say with motion, obviously motion is based on either sound outputs or telemetry outputs.
Yeah.
But it is like something's coming out of the game.
Yeah.
Some central processing unit needs to process the data.
Some latency there.
And then put it into motion, and that might give you a latency. And personally, if I go to a curb and then start shaking while being on the curb, being off the curb, still
Yeah.
shaking. I think that would direct me off as well. It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. We'll move on to Ascher because they've got some interesting wheels. It's like there is a difference between sim racing, that's like through the lens of esports,
Yeah.
and sim racing through the lens of these cars are amazing on experience them. And something like Asetek Evo seems to be maybe going more down the sort of
Yeah.
immersion route like that. So
I think it really depends what is your overall goal, what is the kind of stuff you try to achieve.
yeah,
Personally, I am an esport driver. I want to have maximum performance. So
Yeah.
that is what I base my decision on, what kind of hardware or gadgets to get. Will it improve my performance? Will it maybe potentially hinder to
Yeah.
get maximum performance out of the package?
so that's how you're looking at
That's
every.
how I'm looking at it. Now, if in 20 years I retire sim racing wise, got the money to spend, I'm like, I want to have that moving rig in VR and turn sick every 2 minutes, but I love it.
Yeah.
And that is like, it depends on the focus you have when going into it.
I think it's a good point, and I think maybe there is like there's esports and competitive, like a retirement. It's like I don't want to be chasing every thousands at one point. It's
Yeah.
relentless and it's all encompassing, and you can't compromise.
It's mentally draining.
It's draining. At some point, I might want to do it a different way. It's a bit like when tennis players they go on the master circuit. Down here.
It's all about momentum.
Yeah. And once you stop, it'll be hard to get back on the train, I think.
Absolutely.
So this is the McLaren Artura GT4, and it's one of these examples where the rim they do is the same rim as the car.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, there's compromises. There's no funky switches here.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? Do you like the idea that this is actually what they drive in the car, or would you want to compromise and have, like they have on that one, and have funky switches?
What will you say is my opinion, knowing me?
Have all the options of funky switches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care whether it is the real thing in the car.
Yeah.
Like, probably I'm the perfect customer for that Mercedes F1 reel by SimLab. First, I'm a Mercedes fanboy. Second, when you go into promo, setting it up, you can literally set up so many things, so many dials and switches.
Yeah.
So that gives me maximum customization that I might need for my racing.
Yeah.
However, that obviously is a special example. This is very basic. For some purists, like for immersion things, you may want to get for that wheel. Personally, for me, that's all about the performance. I get with the other version that
Or I
has
guess
funky
you would get the
switches.
one with the screen,
Indeed.
which is the wheel that Max Verstappen uses.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
haven't
he does.
watched closely enough, but yeah,
And,
I would certainly go with something like that.
and are you a fan of wheel in? Apparently, what people are doing these days is they get a wheel like this, and then they get a dash as well.
Yeah.
They're showing different stuff on the
Yeah.
dash. Again, like information, like don't want to say overload, but it's like as much information as possible.
It needs to to fit into whatever you're using. So personally, my setup, my screen starts here.
Yeah.
So I don't have a chance to push an additional dash
Yeah.
because I will block
So you
my
want
screen.
field of view.
I want field of view as closely as possible so that I have
More vision.
the best vision
Yeah, yeah.
while still having the correct sense of speed.
Yeah. No, interesting. I don't know where we should definitely go and see Asetek. I don't know if there's any other brands that you want to see or interesting stuff that you've seen at the Expo.
Well, we could talk about GSI for a moment because, and I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just use the GSI myself,
Yeah.
and it has been the best quality, high-end quality sim racing wheel I've ever had in hands.
When you say that, is that grips? Is that?
It is everything. It starts with the grips. It has one downside. Those rims are really heavy,
Okay.
but they are industrial. That you really feel that this is industrial production. Like whatever
Yeah.
you put in, it is 100% the same result that puts out. So ISO 9001, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. You see they're doing it industrial. You see they have 20, 25, 30 different kind of rims, and all of them hitting the same QA marks.
Yeah.
All of them are flawless. They are well welded. They have overcome the issue. I think I had a maintenance issue, of course. So I had to open the thing, change the shifters. And then I saw though, like they have a platina, and you know vibrations and everything that comes to it is bad for cabling, for wiring, for the electronics. But I think they got a nice way around it because they have the platina, and then you like have pins like in a small computer. That you attach it to. So it is
standoff.
It is, it is put on. It is not welded, so it can move. It have a little bit of flex, but it will be kept in position just by design.
The small details are.
Those are the small details that make the difference. And then I have no wear whatsoever on my silicon grip stuff. I just think it's a great wheel.
Nice. Well, we know a lot of good things about GSI. Maybe we should see actually VPG.
Yes.
Because VPG have some real wheels. I don't know if you know too much about Solpec as well. They got a.
No. I see they do dashes and wheels.
I have to be honest.
Their dashes look sick.
They do look sick, but there is no shortage of GT3 wheels.
Yeah.
Like, we're not in a scarcity era in sim racing where you cannot get a good GT3 wheel.
Is it?
Which is a good thing. So this is VPG, and they make replica wheels.
Yeah.
Now, we spoke about like compromises.
Yes.
And Ascher, how they have the joysticks and whatnot. So these ones, they're not really interested in making a compromise. Actually, they want to be replicas. And if they do add a funky switch, which we'll actually go around and see maybe, they'll say, by the way, this is a compromise, because they think the target audience here is actual real racing drivers.
Okay.
Who want to be on a sim.
I mean, of course, if you want to practice as a real life driver for the real thing, you need to have a wheel that is as close as possible to your own.
So this is the wheel in the Ford Mustang, and I think maybe the only difference really is those two funky switches.
Okay.
The rest of it, so this is more of a hybrid.
Yeah.
Does that interest you more, or still you need a screen?
I still need a screen.
And you can't really have a dash because you don't have enough space to fit a dash behind on your wheelbase.
That as well.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm all about when I race, I want to touch all the buttons. I want to have shortest way to set the most important things, and I want to have as much information as possible coming subconsciously from the wheel. LED strips, dashes with flashing indications if there's some emergency on the car.
Is that sort of comforting to you as well, that you're getting information, and it would almost feel like...
If I would run that specific wheel, I would be scared to miss out on something a low fuel warning, bad shifting points, and so on.
And does that all come from your experience of a race you had many years ago where you had a low fuel warning, but it wasn't mapped, and then you ran out of fuel on the pit entry, and then you're like, I never want to make...
That obviously contributes to it, but it's less about like, oh damn, I have experienced something, so I need to fix it. It is more about as a sim racer, you're more like, what if?
Yeah.
What if I missed to see that sign at the top left because I'm in the fight?
Because we're fighting for every marginal gain everywhere.
You're so focused on what you're doing, so you might oversee that indicator, so you need something that catches your attention, and then you can like ignore it for the rest of it because you're now made aware.
Yeah. Maybe we'll walk over to Fanatec.
Yes.
See, I think the way they explain those like no compromise is that if you're a Mustang GT3 driver for a GT team, you're going to have a whole team and people on radio.
Have you seen that one? Sorry to interrupt you.
I've heard big things.
But it is so interesting to see when you shift.
Yeah.
It's off now, damn it. But like you see how the gearbox would shift gears.
Yeah.
So it is like everything that you have in a simulation here, you will see how it operates in a real thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that real quick because that's something I've done before.
And I love this little touch here. How many times it's been shifted? I think it might be...
well, that's what that one.
I think every company should do that and show...
Imagine that as type of a Q&A program right now. Like how many shifters, how many different kind of impacts can this thing survive?
Very quickly in Simagic, active pedal.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know about this, but...
They do have an active pedal?
They do have an active pedal. First thoughts about this compared to the Simucube, just in a glass box. Shorter,
shorter, I think less travel way.
Taller and bulkier though.
Maybe also a different way of operation. I haven't seen how the Simucube is operating exactly.
Yeah.
Like here you see
There's a belt in here.
the belt in there and the engine rotating. Yeah.
Yeah. But very interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that.